Hi, I am going to be explaining my classroom code of conduct. I'm going to give a brief disclaimer before I start. Now, I know one of my themes in my philosophy of my classroom is a democratic classroom. So with that being said, you would probably think that something I would pick regarding my classroom code of conduct would be to have the kids help me make my classroom rules and expectations, because that's what a democratic classroom consists of. However, after listening to the video of Wong and the presentation by our professor, I decided that as a novice teacher starting my career, the most realistic and applicable thing for me to do would probably be having my rules and expectations set prior and working from there. Now, this is not to say I'm going to do that forever. Once I have experience and my feet under myself, I certainly want to have my kids help me create these classroom rules and expectations. But I think realistically, where I am now, starting in education, I would like to have these expectations set prior. So that's why it varies a little from my philosophy, but the goal is eventually, once I'm a stronger teacher, to have my kids help me create the classroom code of conduct. So without further ado, let's get started. So as I mentioned, I am going to have these expectations in the code of conduct previously prior set coming into school. This is because I want a strong foundation and strong expectations for my kids. I want to know what I expect, and I want them to know exactly what I expect. I think it'll make it very clear if they don't put their input in right now, but listen to what I've said, because I think it will help all the different types of learners. So let's just go over what I have. First, I have, we will treat all members of the classroom with kindness. Now, I want to make note of my language in this classroom conduct. It is not negative. It is positive, because we are going to be positive in my classroom. And based on the readings, that is what we learned. We should not have negative language, like we will not be mean, because that kind of puts a damper on things, and it doesn't tell the kids, well, it tells them what not to do, but what should we be doing? We want kids to do the right thing. So it is, we will treat all members of the classroom with kindness. And this connects to the theorist Nell Nodding and her care theory. I think the most important job of a teacher, which goes back to my philosophy, teacher expectations, is that she needs to be there and care and love her students. And she will do that with kindness in the classroom and teaching the kids to care and love for one another. Part of that also ties into part of a democratic classroom, because in a democratic classroom, the teachers and students value one another, and kindness plays a part in that, because if you are not listening, you're not being kind. Same with language. I think language is so important, and it impacts our students greatly. So if we're using kind words to one another, including ourselves as teachers, then we are creating a safe community for learners. I'll skip to number 3, because it kind of ties in with those. We will respect ourselves, our classmates, and our school. It's the same idea of showing your self-respect, showing your peers respect, no hitting, keep your hands to yourself, no punching, no teasing, and of course showing the school respect. And this also means classroom materials, because we need to respect the things that have been so graciously placed in front of us. Now, this ties to, again, teacher expectations. So the teacher needs to say and model and show what is respect. How are we going to respect our peers? How are we going to respect the materials in the classroom? And this also can connect to my discipline model, because the teacher needs to lay out these clear expectations, and if the students do not follow them, show them, tell them what the consequence will be, and follow through with that, which is the penalty discipline model, which I talk more about below. We will be responsible for our own learning. This is an important theme, not one that I included in my philosophy, but kind of want to add it. I think student accountability is so important. Like teacher accountability above and the kindness that related to the theorist Kunin, being responsible for a student's own learning is something we need to set them up for, because the teacher's not always going to be with them. She needs to teach them that, hey, this is school, this is important to me, and I'm going to do my best on it because I am in charge of doing my homework, I am in charge of being a good student and a good listener, and I am in charge of making this the best experience I can. So that's more student accountability opposed to teacher accountability, but the teacher needs to be there to set those expectations. And that also ties back to my philosophy of a democratic classroom, because the teacher and students have responsibility. So hey, students, it's your responsibility to do your work and be an active member in this classroom community. We already talked about number 3. Number 4, we will use our ears to listen to our teacher and our classmates. Now, I tried to make these rules general and applicable to many situations. So instead of just saying we will listen, what will we listen to? We can listen to directions. We can listen to other ideas in the class and be kind about them. We can listen to our friend on the playground saying stop. So I feel like this was a broader statement that applies to many situations, which is a plus. So in this expectation, it connects to teacher accountability and student accountability, because we each need to be accountable for taking the time to listen and apply what our peers are saying. Language, hearing, speaking, how we communicate to one another is so important, and not only talking, but taking the time to listen and apply what our peer is saying. And lastly, in a democratic classroom, we listen to one another and our ideas. So this rule ties nicely into my classroom philosophy. And last but not least, we will come to school with a positive attitude, ready to learn. I also kind of believe this goes with no noddings and just being positive and caring for our students and happy to see the school day. Now, this is student accountability, coming in, ready to learn, happy, smiling, and teacher accountability. As a teacher, our emotions and even our body language, if I'm slumped over, you can tell I'm not excited for the day. But if I have a big smile on my face, I'm greeting each child as they walk in, which is another thing I read, how important it is to greet our children when they walk in and show them that, hey, we're ready for the day. It will create a better learning environment. Same with democratic classroom in my philosophy. We each have a part to play in this. I need to be happy and positive for the day. My students need to be happy and positive for the day. We can build off of one another and create a really happy classroom. And this also goes with language. We're positive, using nice, kind, happy words when we are around each other and really enjoying one another's company. I really like all these rules, and I'm so happy I did this assignment because it gave me a clear outline of what I expect of myself as a teacher. How can I expect my kids to have a procedure and rules and code of conduct to follow if I don't know what I want them to follow? So I think this was a really good experience in that sense, and also in the sense that I have a goal to work towards to eventually be able to create these classroom code of conduct rules with my kids one day, which I think will add to my philosophy of a democratic classroom. I don't think I'm there yet, but I know with practice and time I can get there. So let me make sure I have every part that I need. I think I described it fully. Yeah, thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video.